right, Justin, let's go back. 2006 Five Diamond Poker Classic. You've been 21 for less than 3 months, and you played 8 events and final table 4 of them, including the $15,000 main event. Some people say it was like your coming out party. How would you describe it?
It was kind of bittersweet. I mean, obviously it started off great, just making final table after final table, but I didn't win any, which kind of sucks. I mean, between that and Bahamas, I actually had a stretch of 7 tournaments where I made the final 11 in 6 of them, so, wow. I mean, it would have been nice to, win a huge one, although I did win the final one, which is kind of nice, even though it was only a prelim.
That was a great run.
Yeah.
I bet you made tons of money.
Yeah, I had this idea in my head that, I was amazing at tournaments and I'd final table everything I ever played, but somehow it didn't work out like that.
Then it slowed down, right?
Yeah.
All right, you had an interesting quote in a blog following that 5 Diamond where you said, "Be forewarned, Justin Bonomo is going to take the tournament circuit by storm for 2007. Pretty bold statement.
I mean, that whole blog was pretty much a joke blog. I mean, I guess I was serious about, planning to do well in, the Player of the Year race, but...
Well, I'm sure the confidence stemmed from everything that had just happened.
Yeah.
So you weren't serious at all about that?
I mean, it was, I guess, 50% serious. I don't know.
So did you think your 2007 lived up to what you were thinking it was going to be?
Well, all the years kind of blend together. What was 2007 again?
I don't know. What is this? No, 2008, but last year.
Like I said before, I would have liked to have won a huge tournament, but, I've been lucky that I keep consistently getting deep, and,
right.
Even if I'm not winning, I'm getting to final tables, which pays the bills.
Right. You've been in the spotlight since you entered poker, obviously, but most people don't know your background. You're from Virginia. Tell me a little bit about your childhood.
I was born and raised in Fairfax, Virginia, right outside of D.C., so not stereotypical Virginia cornfields. It was a pretty suburban area. Pretty normal childhood, I guess.
Good kid? Troubled kid? What were you?
I got into a lot of trouble in middle school, but it was all for, it was stupid stuff like talking in class. And
that's not trouble.
I had a record for the most demerits in my middle school. But, I never did anything bad. I got 2 demerits once for shooting a staple gun at someone. Not a staple gun, just, a little stapler. I was just joking around.
I was like, a staple gun? That's not cool.
No, it's traveling, half a mile an hour. Didn't hurt anyone. Couldn't possibly cause any harm. But, I don't know. I guess my teachers just didn't like me.
All right. You got into card playing at a very young age. But it was Magic the Gathering, right?
Yep.
All right. How'd you get introduced to that game?
I was 8 years old, and my neighbors bought a couple of packs of cards, and they started playing with my brother, so I joined in too.
But you got really into it. Tell me about it.
I remember I went to the store, another University Mall, and I saw they had a book on the game, and I was like, I had no clue why they would have a book on the game. It's just something I play with my neighbors,
Right.
But then I read it, and I found out they actually have these tournaments, and people play competitively. And then it also opened up this whole new level of strategy. And that's what really got me hooked on the game.
Right, but you're 12 years old, and you start touring the world playing Magic.
Mm-hmm.
What was your life like back then?
I kind of slept through high school because I didn't really care about that part of my life at all. Right. So, I really look forward to playing Magic and all these tournaments. And, it actually took a lot of work. You'd really have to test out and strategize going into a tournament. So, I would never care about an exam coming up or a test coming up. I was really psyched for the next tournament.
So how did Magic become poker?
T. Soprano, also known as Brock Parker.
Right.
I remember I was 16. I was watching him play 100-200 on WSEX, Limit Hold'em Heads Up, and just the thought of him winning these $4,000 pots every couple of minutes, I figured, he's good at Magic, I was good too, maybe I could do this too.
Right. So did you get in it for the money, or did you get in it because you're just really competitive and you wanted to win?
A little of both. I mean, I've definitely always been a gamer, from video games to Magic. I just love, strategy of any kind. But, I mean, when I saw, my friend Brock, winning all this money at this game, I mean, I was just fascinated by it from the beginning.
Right. All right, now you start playing poker. You start getting good, and then you get really, really good. What was the process like, moving up?
I guess you could say I kind of studied and worked at it a lot harder than most of the pros that kind of just fall into a good strategy. I started off, I read dozens and dozens of books. I found the 2+2 internet forums where I discussed thousands and thousands of hands over the years with so many other pro players. Then eventually in the Bahamas, really, I started meeting other online players and just nonstop, just talking strategy with them, just always making sure I'm getting better.
Right. Now let's flash forward to 2005, EPT French Open. You're only 19, youngest player to reach a televised final table, and that's pretty much it. Tell me about it.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing. I remember I actually kind of made like a huge bluff like before the final table to the point where, I was a short stack that might not make it. And I remember the final table was 8 players. We were down to 9 players, and we had an all-in between me and a guy with like almost the exact same stacks. So it was pretty much that one hand would determine who got the final table.
Right.
And I had like ace X to his like queen jack or something, so it was a slight favorite.
Yeah.
And just honestly, in all the poker I've played, making that final table is probably the best feeling like I've ever had. I remember I called my parents right afterwards, even though it was like 3 a.m. It was like 3 a.m. for them or whatever. Right. I was just so excited to tell them I made it.
Right. Were you nervous at all, that final table?
I was really nervous going into the final table until I started talking to the other players, and I found out that they were more nervous than I was.
Good thing.
And for some reason, that just gave me so much confidence, and I just wasn't nervous at all after that.
So at that point, you're 19 years old. Are you thinking, this is what I'm going to do? This is it?
Yeah, I mean, I knew before then. I mean, I was already making a lot of money playing sit and goes online, that I knew I could make a great living doing it.
What was your first impressions of live game, since you played mostly online before?
I guess the first like actual casino I played in was Turning Stone, and I drove up there for like a $500 tournament. I had one friend with me, but other than that, like I didn't really know anyone, so it was kind of like not that much fun. And I busted out of the first tournament losing Ace King all in versus Ace Queen, so it really sucked. But like 3 days later, they had like a $30 rebuy tournament or something, and I ended up winning that. So I actually won the second live tournament I ever played in.
Then you were hooked.
Yeah, I guess that kind of gave me a good first impression.
All right, now we have to talk about it. Back when everything happened with the multi-accounting incident. I know you're way past that. Everyone knows that now, but it wouldn't be right if I didn't ask you about it. So what do you think you learned most from that experience?
It's hard to answer. I learned so much. I guess at first what I realized was that, I have to start taking poker extremely seriously, and that, I really have to be a completely honest and ethical person. Like, even if something's kind of like a gray area, there's just no reason to kind of like step over that line. I mean, I've been extremely fortunate that I can make a great living in this game doing, playing completely by the book, so there's no reason not to.
Right. All right. On June 4th, 2008, you reached one of the most talked about tables of the year with Eric Lindgren winning. How tough was that loss for you?
God, I've been so close to winning so many like WPTs and WSOPs that like you'd think I'd get used to it, but it just sucks.
Is it that same feeling over and over again every time?
Yeah, and I mean, this isn't even like really the closest I've gotten, but it's still just it doesn't get better. There's no way to just deal with it. I mean, I've been in so many positions to just win tournaments, and then just I don't know what happens after that.
Yeah. Any consolation that it was Eric's first bracelet?
Sort of. I mean, in hindsight, like I love Eric. He's a great guy. Glad to see him win a bracelet, but I'm not gonna lie. I wanted that bracelet.
Right. All right. And then the other story from that final table was when Norman Chad, the ESPN announcer, made those comments about you. They said something during the broadcast, but what was your reaction to that?
I was